Okay, it's
Again, with the latest details. Oklahoma.
Roma, this video was released and edited by the police department, and it shows 34-year-old Sahid Vassal walking around with what we now know is a metal pipe. Take a look at this video. As you can see, he's brandishing it like a weapon and pointing it at people walking by. According to the NYPD, police received 3 911 calls of a man menacing people with a gun on the street just around 4:30 p.m. yesterday afternoon. And in an unprecedented move, police are releasing the text of those 911 calls. First one says, quote, "There is a guy in a brown jacket walking around pointing. I don't know. What is he pointing in people's face?"
okay. It's Thursday, April 5th, 2018, 3:32 p.m. According to New York One, it's 43 degrees right now. So we're looking out of the window of 255 West 43rd Street on the 6th floor. We're looking direction north and west about 20 to 30 degrees. We're looking at the twin chimneys that are operated by John's Pizzeria, and the entrance to their restaurant for the public is 260 West 44th Street. I've mentioned this before in the videos that the seems to be around 3:30, a pretty regular blast of smoke. It seems like starts around 9. I notice it between 9 and 10, all the way up to 11. Very strong, predictable blasts of black smoke. And then here we have it again at 3:30. And I'll just play New York One just to confirm that it is today what it is.
That's what officers are responding to in real time. We've got to recognize if they believe they were dealing with an immediate matter of life and death to the people in the surrounding area, that's an exceedingly difficult, tense, split-second decision that has to be made.
We've learned from speaking to Vassal's family that he had a history of mental illness and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but police officials say the officers were not responding to a call of an emotionally disturbed person, but rather a call of a person with a gun, and that information would not be known to the responding officers. And Roma, as we've been reporting, it was a tense situation yesterday. It's a very busy area. There were a lot of people who witnessed the incident, and people in the community say this man was well known as someone with mental illness, with mental issues, but described him as harmless. And there is a rally planned at the site of the shooting this evening.
Police, I'm assuming, were not wearing body cameras, or were they?
There were no body cameras worn so far, and so as far as we know, these officers did not have body cameras on. And of course, that's something we've been talking about and something we know will be rolled out on a much larger scale for the rest of the department, but these officers were not.
And so far as we know, police were responding to an incident involving a man with a gun. I mean, on separate calls to 911, people were reporting that there was a man with a gun, so that's what they assumed they were seeing. And I have to say, looking close up at that video, it does look exactly like a gun was in his hand.
To the naked eye, definitely, it's questionable what it could be, but I would have to agree with you, Roma. It definitely looks like it could be a gun in his hands, and I guess his whole stance, the way that he's jumping out at people, I can certainly understand why people on the street were alarmed and did make those 911 calls.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how this could have turned out differently. It is a real tragedy. Clodagh McGowan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Roma.
Mayor de Blasio paid a visit to one of the city's public housing developments. This comes as the state has yet to approve a monitor that would usher in needed repairs at public housing apartments. And our Josh Robin is joining us now from the Queensbridge houses in Long Island City with very latest. Josh.
Well, Roma, the governor also talking about public housing today, and as you can imagine, both he and the mayor, again, going at it against each other using perhaps the sharpest language to date, at least by my ears. We're going to start now with the governor. He talked at a speech earlier today, again criticizing the mayor's inability, he says, to oversee needed repairs in public housing across the city. As you mentioned, earlier this week, the governor signed into law an independent monitor for NYCHA. That monitor would be needed before hundreds of millions of dollars in state aid would flow to NYCHA. That monitor would need to be announced, and then a private contractor would need to be announced. Mostly, though, the governor sticking to his attacks on the mayor. Let's take a listen.
I was the former HUD secretary. I've looked at public housing all across this country. I've been in the Chicago Housing Authority, New Orleans. I've been on Native American reservations. The NYCHA housing is as bad as anything I have seen. It is disgusting.
Well, the mayor seems to be taking offense to such words. He had an announcement where he announced new roofs at 65 buildings with another 78 due to be completed in coming months. Also spending a lot of time criticizing Governor Cuomo, saying that recent trips that the governor has taken to NYCHA facilities only are coming up because a re-election battle is heating up. Let's listen to the mayor.
I really think people are smart, voters are smart, the media is smart. You can't just show up after 5 years and suddenly act like the Great White Knight. If you had $250 million, that's $250 million, why didn't you release it? Let's just get serious.
And now, Roma, let's talk just very briefly about what perhaps is most important for those who actually want repairs done at NYCHA facilities. Again, that independent monitor needs to be announced before those repairs can start to be made, and it hasn't happened yet. Obviously, there's been no announcement. They haven't come up with who the independent monitor should be. The mayor says that the law that the governor signed was actually different than other laws creating independent monitors, so it's quite complicated. But again, unless you have that independent monitor, you're not going to see the repairs coming through. So the hope, I would say, from many people who hope to have better NYCHA facilities, is that all sides get together and figure out who that monitor should be, so those repairs can actually be made. We're going to keep a close eye on the story. That's the very latest now from Queenbridge. I'm Josh Robin. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you. The city announces a settlement in a lawsuit that accused police of improperly spying on Muslims. That suit, filed back in 2012, focused on the NYPD's use of informants in mosques and the gathering of information from Muslim student groups. In the settlement, the city agreed to pay $75,000 in damages to the plaintiffs, as well as picking up their nearly $1 million in legal fees. They'll also re-emphasize existing guidelines about constitutional rights based on ethnicity and religion. Police did not admit to any wrongdoing in the settlement. Courts in New York and New Jersey, where the plaintiffs hail from, also did not find any unlawful activity by the police. The department's counterterrorism head spoke about the settlement.
While on one level, this is the settlement of a civil matter, on another level, it's part of the broader conversation that we've been advancing with the Muslim community while we try to work with all communities, but also protect New York City from crime and terrorism.
Faraj Hassan, the lead plaintiff in the suit, says the settlement will help to uphold religious freedom in the future. He added, "We are proud that we stood up to the most powerful police force in the country and against the suspicion and ignorance that guided their discriminatory practices." The NYPD's Real-Time Crime Center reportedly sees facial recognition as the next frontier in crime-fighting technology. That is, according to the Wall Street Journal. Police are looking to gain access to the Department of Motor Vehicles database of driver's licenses. They hope to use licensed photos to identify potential suspects or witnesses. And critics say this access to the DMV database with thousands of photographs of innocent New Yorkers raises serious privacy concerns. Police Commissioner
Okay, I'm going to shut the windows. It's getting a little cold, and the smoke died down a little bit, but the smell is still there. Wait.